All right, let's dive in. We're talking about the third Ashes test at the iconic Adelaide Oval. And look, this wasn't just another cricket match. No, this was a complete masterclass in control and aggression. Just pure, unyielding dominance by the Aussies. So, how did they pull it off? Let's get into it.
You know, sometimes a single line from the commentary just says it all, right? This match turned into a complete domination by Australia. That really was the story of the whole thing. So how did they do it? How did they get that level of total control? Well, it all started with building a really solid foundation.
Okay, let's talk about that foundation. The story of this whole thing really kicks off on day one. You could just see Australia methodically putting all the pieces in place for their win, one by one.
And it all starts with something as simple as a coin toss, doesn't it? Australia wins it, gets that first big decision, and they choose to bat on what looked like a pretty good pitch for scoring runs. Right there, from the very beginning, they're grabbing control of the game's tempo. So the way their innings played out is actually super interesting. You had Usman Khaja starting things off with his classic patient style, just grinding down the English bowlers. And to be fair, England fought back. They were taking wickets, trying to stop the bleeding. But then, just when they thought they were getting a foothold, in comes the hometown hero, Carey. And he just launches this brilliant counterattack. Think about the psychology of that. The keeper comes in and plays with so much freedom. It completely shifted the energy of the match. And it all leads up to this amazing 100 that just sent the Adelaide crowd absolutely wild.
And all of that led to this number right here, 326. That was their final score for the first innings. And a score like that, it's more than just runs on the board, right? It's a solid foundation. It's a statement. It puts all the psychological pressure squarely back on England's shoulders. Okay, so with all that pressure, how did England respond? Well, their innings really turned into a story of struggle, with just one guy really standing up and fighting back against that Aussie tide. And this really shows you the massive contrast in their batting lineup. On one hand, the top order just collapses. It's a mess of edges, mistimed shots. They just couldn't handle Australia's disciplined bowling. But then you have their captain, Ben Stokes. He was just a different story. He absolutely refused to back down, fighting with so much courage and intent. He even managed to scrape together a few defiant little partnerships with the lower order, a real captain's knock.
But even with that incredible fight from Stokes, England were all out for just 213. I mean, that's a deficit of over 100 runs. So at this point, you gotta understand, Australia wasn't just leading. No, they were in complete and total command of this match. Which brings us to Act 3. And this is the most explosive part of the whole match. This is the moment where Australia went from winning the game to putting it completely, utterly, and totally out of England's reach. So you have to ask yourself, right? How do you take a strong lead and turn it into one that's just impossible to overcome? How do you completely crush any little bit of hope the other team might still be clinging to?
Well, the commentary team said it perfectly with this one simple, dramatic phrase. Because after all that steady buildup, a complete force of nature was about to be unleashed on this game. Travis Head, he was just unstoppable. I mean, the English bowlers had no answer. No plan B, no plan C. He just started to dominate everything, turning Australia's strong position into one that was just impossible to attack. And his batting was completely fearless. He was playing shots all over the ground, taking these huge calculated risks that just kept paying off over and over again. You could almost feel the momentum shifting. It went from a steady push to an absolute avalanche.
And from England's point of view, it was a complete nightmare. Seriously, every single plan they came up with, every bowling change, it was all met with this brutal, almost dismissive batting. You could just see the match slipping right through their fingers with every boundary.
So, in the end, Australia declared with a lead of over 350 runs. And at that point, look, it's not a contest anymore. It's just a statement of pure, absolute dominance.
All right, so let's pull back from the play-by-play for a second and really break this down. What was the anatomy of this domination? Why was the gap between these two teams so huge in this particular match?
This analysis really breaks it down perfectly. I mean, look at discipline. Yeah, both teams had it, but Australia's was just relentless. It was suffocating. Then you look at aggression. England showed some flashes, sure, but Australia, with Carey and especially Travis Head, they were on a whole different level of calculated brutality. And then, confidence. That's the big one. For Australia, it was sky high. You could see it in every single player. For England, after just getting battered like that, it was gone. You could just see it was gone. So when we look back on this, what are the key takeaways? what is this commanding performance really going to be remembered for? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. You've got Alex Carey's 100 on his home turf that set the tone and just demoralized England right from the start. Then Travis Head's destructive century that just sealed the deal with a massive exclamation point. Put it all together and what you have is a masterclass in complete control from start to finish. And a performance like that, it absolutely strengthens Australia's grip on the whole Ashes series.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Was this incredible performance just a perfectly executed game plan? You know, a bunch of smart strategic decisions that just happened to pay off? Or does this kind of overwhelming, dominant victory come from something else? Something more intangible, like a state of mind, a collective confidence that just becomes totally unstoppable.